Can one of the most iconic park snacks be recreated at home? We're gonna find out. Let's go. Hey, howdy, hey, it is Molly, the Disney Picky Eater, and I am here once again at home trying to recreate park snacks to see if it's worth it or if you should just wait until you get to the park. So today, we are going to try to recreate the iconic, the incredible, the delicious Mickey pretzel with cheese sauce. Now I know what you're thinking, Molly, the Mickey pretzel is really just like a processed ballpark pretzel made into a Mickey shape, and it is served with plastic cheese. And while I'm not going to make plastic cheese today, I am gonna make cheese sauce, and I am gonna make a pretzel that I have a recipe for out of my America's Test Kitchen bread book. And I'm gonna make them in the shape of a Mickey, and it's gonna be nostalgic, it's gonna be delicious, hopefully fingers crossed. And we'll see, can you do this at home? Will it give you like the feels of, oh, I'm getting ready to walk through Fantasyland, or should you just wait until you get to the park and enjoy it there? So, to start off, now, this recipe, like I said, is from my America's Test Kitchen bread book. I will find the recipe online and I will post it in the description like I have with all of the other ones. Okay, so this recipe explains, you know, why it works, how it works, all that thing. The book is fantastic. If you're into like baking bread, I highly recommend it. My parents gave it to me for Christmas one year. Love it. So we are going to start by taking our bowl for the stand mixer, and we are going to whisk together the flour, the salt, and the yeast in this bowl. So we need, and this is weird to me, 3 3/4 cup of flour. So we're just gonna measure it out until we hit it. They also measure in ounces, like if you have a scale and you're gonna do it by scale, then you can do it that way. So, here we go. There's not much left in this. And this recipe also calls for bread flour. I'm using just regular flour, which you can do. The only real difference is that with bread flour, you get a chewier end result. It ends up being that the way that the proteins break down in it, that you end up getting a chewier product, which would make sense for a pretzel. It also makes sense for breads. So this will just be like a little less chewy, which is fine. But you also have to be careful because sometimes when you're not using the exact flour, it can tend to overcook it faster than what was expected. All right, so now the recipe just says kosher salt, but then up here it says to use 4 teaspoons. Now I don't have kosher salt, which is not the end of the world. So I'm gonna put 4 teaspoons of just regular old salt in here. We don't want it to be too salty. And then the yeast. And we're using some active dry yeast. You can use instant or rapid rise. Doesn't matter. So we need 2 teaspoons of this. Always annoys me when there's less than what's like in the, like there's more in the packet, because unless you're gonna use it like in the next day or two, it's not gonna hang out. We're gonna whisk this together. Now I'm gonna pop this onto here. Okay, so next you're going to want to take 1.5 cups of water. You want to whisk your water 2 tablespoons out of the 3 tablespoons of oil, vegetable oil, and then the sugar, the brown sugar. So I'm going to pop that guy in there. I'm going to measure out 2 of this. 1, 2. Okay. And it is packed brown sugar. So we know what that means. That means you gotta squash it really in there. Nice and good, nice and even. Okay, 1. There's only 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 2. Plop. And then we are going to whisk this until the sugar is dissolved. So it's going to be that brown color because of the sugar, but you should be able to see once the sugar is all kind of no longer visible, you're good. All right, once that is done, your next step is to use a dough hook. We're going to plop this guy on here. If it wants to go on. Come on now. There we go. And it says with it on low speed, add the water mixture to the flour until cohesive dough starts to form and no dry flour remains. Then for about 2 minutes, that's going to be for about 2 minutes. So you do that. It'll take about 2 minutes for that to happen. You scrape down the bowl if you need to. So I'm going to get a spatula. And then after that, you're going to increase the speed to medium-low, kneading the dough until it is smooth and elastic and clears the sides of the bowl. So it's going to be about 8 minutes. So you're going to pop that on for 8 minutes and just let it go to town. Spatula in hand, it's forky, duh. We're going to turn this on low. We're going to start adding this, and we've got forky just in case we need to do the sides. Okay, so this ended up needing to have a lot more flour added. There's something about these recipes, they're great, but somehow something doesn't get translated correctly and you end up having to add more flour to it, which if you have to do that, that's fine. I've done it a trillion times. Every single time I make their hoagie roll recipe, that's what ends up happening, that I need to add way more flour. All right, so we are going to take this out. We are going to place it on a lightly floured surface and we're going to knead it for 30 seconds. It's okay if you knead it for like a little bit longer. I'm going to put a little bit of this on my hands. Always want to flour your hands if you've got to knead like this. So I'm going to get this out of here. Probably could have added even more flour to it because it's sticky, but I can add flour while I'm kneading, so that's okay. I'm gonna get all sorts of flour on top of here whilst I knead it, and we're gonna start kneading. So when you knead dough, you wanna pull it towards you and then push it away. And then you wanna turn it, if you can. You wanna pull it towards you and push it away. That's how you knead, in case anybody was wondering. So the reason you usually knead doughs like this is because it activates the gluten in the flour, which when you're making like a bread, I'm gonna just add a little more flour to this because it is sticky and it should not be. When you are making like a bread, you want the gluten to activate, and you do that by kneading. Also, there is a such thing as over kneading, so you want to be careful. All right, so we have kneaded the dough. It is still a little sticky, but I think that's to be expected. So when you're done, you kind of want to get it into like form it into a ball as best you can. You want to kind of make sure that the seam is at the bottom, and we're going to place it in a large mixing bowl, a large bowl, whatever kind of bowl you have, lightly greased. We're going to plop that down in there, and we're going to cover it with plastic wrap tightly. Then you are going to put it somewhere nice and warm and dry for it to rise, and it is going to double in size. That'll take about an hour to an hour and a half. Quick little awesome tip that I found out from one of my amazing baking friends. If you don't have a cool, dry place or a proofer to rise your dough, an awesome little trick is as soon as you start your recipe, you turn on the light in your oven. Now you're only going to turn on the light, that's it. And then by the time that you are ready to put it in a proofing area, you're going to pop that into the oven, keep the light on, and then you have a warm-ish, because of the light, a warmish, dry, draft-free place for your rising to happen. Awesome little trick. I was so excited when she told me about this. So I'm gonna put this with plastic wrap. I'm gonna put it in my oven with nothing but the light on. I'm gonna wait about an hour. I'm gonna see what it looks like, and I will see you in 1 hour. I can't snap because my hands are covered in dough. So by the power of editing, we are somewhere else. Okay, so it has been about an hour. This has for sure doubled in size. It's huge. So the next step in the recipe is to lightly flour some baking sheets because we're going to need some place to put these once we've created this cute little Mickey shape that, fingers crossed, we can figure out how to do. We are going to press this down to deflate it. Usually go with a little punchy punch. I'm going to transfer this over to my parchment paper. So this should just pop right out since it's greased. Then I am going to stretch this. So when you're making a bread or pretzel in this case, you don't want to use a rolling pin. The rolling pin is going to kind of like smush those gluten proteins. So just like you would with like a pizza dough, you want to press this. So we're going to press this into the size that we're looking for, which is a 12 by 6 rectangle. I'm going to put a little more flour on my hands just so it doesn't get stuck. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take, this calls for a pizza cutter. I don't have a pizza cutter. I have a pastry cutter, which works just as fine. It's got a sharp edge on both sides. And I'm going to slice this into 12 strips. I don't know if I'll get 12 out of it. We'll see. You want to try to get it as rectangle-y as possible. It's not always that possible. I'm just eyeballing all of this. It would probably be a lot easier if I actually did what it said to do. I got 10. That's okay. So then you want to work with it one piece at a time. You want to keep the rest of it covered. Most recipes say that. I'm not 100% sure how to do this. So basically what you would do with like a regular pretzel, let's try doing like a regular pretzel first to kind of get an idea of like what we're doing. Okay, so you take your slice and you want to roll it out, kind of pull and stretch it at the same time. You're going to keep rolling. You're gonna make a U shape, okay? And then you're gonna make that crisscross pretzel-y guy shape. So you're gonna crisscross it, push it down a little bit, and for the most part, that is a classic pretzel shape. All right, and then you're gonna plop it down on your pre-floured baking sheets. Okay, so you're just going to keep doing that, but because I'm making a Mickey pretzel and I want it to be Mickey shaped, I'm going to bop a couple of pieces off the ends of this so that I can make the ears. All right, whoop. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to stretch it and roll it. Okay, we're going to make a circle. And just to close the dough, you just pinch it just a little bit, okay? You pinch it so it closes. You would want to do the same thing if you were making just like the regular classic pretzel. You'd want to pinch the end so that it stays like that. Okay, I'm going to roll out this little guy for one ear. Whoop. You want to pinch that. And then when you're connecting it, you're going to want to pinch it like against the dough also. Okay, we're going to roll this guy. Going to pinch him. And pinch him against the dough. Just kind of want to make sure that you've closed it on the sides so that the next step of this is going to be that we are going to put it in some boiling water with some baking soda, which is what gives a pretzel its shell. So you just want to make sure that it's all closed on all the sides so that it doesn't fall apart when you throw it in there. So this is my Mickey pretzel shape. I'm going to plop that down. And I'm gonna keep going with this. I'm gonna do every single one of these, and then when they are all set, they're gonna sit for another 15 minutes so they can get poofy, and then starts the process of the baking soda bath and the actual baking of the pretzels. Hello, voiceover Molly here. So apparently, regardless of whether or not that little green light is on, my receiver died. So everything that I'm saying at this point was pretty much useless, which I didn't realize until much later. So I will just let you know in voiceover what is happening. So basically I'm explaining the baking soda bath that you have to do in order to get that nice lovely brown crust on your pretzel. You boil the water with the baking soda in it. You use a slotted spoon, or you could use a spatula with slats in it in order to flip over the pretzel while it's in the boiling water, and then that's what you're going to use to take it out, because obviously you do not want to stick your hands in boiling water. This process was actually a lot more difficult than I expected it to be, and I actually ended up losing a lot of pieces in the water. A lot of the pretzel fell apart, but you know, trial and error. But it does remind me that making Mickey pretzel shapes is much harder to do than just a regular old pretzel shape. But yeah, we'll see how they came out in a second. Okay, as we can see, that was a little disastrous. They do have the like shell kind of ness that they need, but like some of their ears fell off. A lot of them are one-eared. I'm not gonna get upset about this because I'm learning from the Woody's Lunchbox tart, which like it might look like it's coming to be disastrous, but it ended up turning out really well. So if you haven't watched Woody's Lunchbox, go see that. I'm gonna pop these on a greased baking sheet. I'm going to put salt on them before I bake. If you are not planning on eating all of these right away, do not put salt on them because it'll make it a pain in the butt to try to store them because salt will start to like dissolve and then you'll get stale pretzels faster. So salt down. If you don't have pretzel salt, use kosher salt. I happen to have like a whole bunch of pretzel salt. Then we're gonna pop these in the oven at 425. And while that's happening, we're gonna make the cheese sauce. So hang on for the cheese sauce. All right, so now it's time to make the cheese sauce. Now I'm not gonna be making plastic cheese, which we all love and adore, but I am gonna be making like a homemade yummy cheese sauce. Hopefully yummy. I've never made it before, so I don't know what it's like. So I have got some butter. I've got 1 tablespoon of butter melting. What I'm about to do is make a roux. So I'm gonna do a tablespoon of butter and a tablespoon of flour. It's usually 1-1, and that's gonna be the thickener for the cheese sauce to make it saucy. We're gonna need a cup of milk and a cup of cheddar cheese. I think you can basically use whatever kind of cheese you want. And also you can make a beer cheese. You can make whatever makes you feel good inside. That's the kind of cheese that you should make. So once this is all melted down, I'm gonna add the flour and then I will start making the roux. Now when you do this, you wanna make sure that your temperature is low. Butter will cook fast, melt fast, I mean, but you don't wanna burn it. Nothing is worse than a burnt roux. Then you gotta start over, and that's just a pain in the butt. So you wanna make sure that you're cooking kind of like at a lower heat, just so you don't overdo it. So 1 tablespoon, I'm using my half a tablespoon, that's why I'm sticking this in here twice. All of my other stuff is dirty. All right, so you're just gonna stir that together. Stir, stir, stir. And you're wanting to get kind of like a paste. This has been the most labor intensive recipe so far, so I am like all flush and so sweaty. This is kind of what you're going for. And again, you want to cook it on a low heat so you're not burning it. You do want to get a little bit of color. All right, then to this, you want to slowly add in some milk. Most recipes call for whole milk. I don't drink whole milk. I've got 1%. Truly, you'll be fine no matter what. So you just want to stir this in. You don't want to scald your milk. You don't want to burn it. You also don't want to curdle it. So then you're going to want to stir this until it gets like thick, which is what that roux is for. It's for the thickening. Okay, you take it off the heat, you dump in your cheese. I truly don't know what this is gonna be like. I have never made cheese sauce. I don't think that my sauce is thick enough, so we're gonna see what happens. Okay, I'm exhausted from that recipe. Here is one of our Mickey pretzels. Here is our lovely cheese sauce. Smells cheesy, I have no idea. So, a little hot. Got a little overcooked at the bottom. I probably would have wanted that cooked a little less. Here's what it looks like on the inside. I'm gonna try a bite without cheese sauce and then a bite with. Woo! Hot, hot, hot. Definitely let these cool as long as they're supposed to. A+ pretzel. That is exactly what you want to taste when you bite into a soft pretzel. The bottom is cooked a little more than I would have liked. So that would have been, you know, that's something that I would have to learn over time. I did swap them around and flip them around halfway through the baking process. I ended up baking them for about 15 minutes total. So here we go with this cheese sauce. I've never made cheese sauce before, so I'm a little worried. I also don't know if my milk was good. I'm scared it's gonna burn me. All right, my cheese sauce isn't great. It's a little gritty. I might have curdled it. Probably would want to have used a sharp cheddar rather than a mild, or even something like a Mexican blend. That probably would have been more flavorful than what this ends up being. I would probably dump it and start over because it doesn't quite taste like it's right, but I keep dipping it, which is a problem because if it's bad, then I'm gonna get a stomachache. All in all, it's cute. It looks like a Mickey pretzel. The flavor is fantastic. Would I do this again? Probably not. The recipe that I personally used was very labor intensive. It didn't seem like it was gonna be, but the whole baking soda bath, which like I get because now I have this beautiful pretzel color, it was a lot. I don't know that I would rather go through all of that by myself at home. You can see how red and sweaty I am, rather than just like wait or just like run to the mall and get a mall pretzel, because you kind of get that same soft pretzel kind of vibe there. You know, you can use whatever recipe you want because obviously there's no set Mickey pretzel recipe. So this was just like, would this give me the feels? It gave me some feelings. It wasn't magic, but I did have feelings during it. So, you know, it's a toss-up. If you enjoy a soft pretzel, then great. There are a trillion recipes out there, and I'm sure that there are ones that are easier than the one that I did was. They also don't call for making a Mickey shape, so all the ears, you know, I have a bunch of one-eared Mickeys. You know, it really depends on how you feel and how much you're willing to take on. So yeah, I think it's a toss-up. I didn't enjoy how long it took. It took me a long time. I started the process probably about 2.5 hours ago, so that's a lot of time. I don't know. You'll have to make it and tell me and decide for yourself. And if you're good at making cheese sauce, let me know what the heck I did. Very well could be that I wasn't using whole milk, and you're supposed to use whole milk. So it was an adventure. We did it. It turned out just kind of meh, but I did want to do something savory because everything's been so sweet. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on trying this recipe or any other Mickey pretzel recipes or any pretzel recipes. Let me know if you've ever made cheese sauce so I can know what I did bad. And let me know if you've tried any of the other recipes that we've done so far. And if you haven't seen those, head back to the channel and click on the playlist of Disney at home recipes. And just remember, if you are looking for the 411 on Disney, I've got you covered, especially for Disney at home snacks. We'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for watching.